Hello, good evening, Sharai. How are you?
Good evening, teacher. I'm fine. How are you?
That's great. I'm also fine, Sharai. Thanks for asking. So let's begin today's conversation. You know that today is going to be a different topic, but before going to this new topic, I would like you to tell me, please, the things that you remember from the previous topic that was related to dreams. What do you remember about that previous topic, Sharai?
Well, what I can say about the last topic is about the dreaming, dreams, and the
Correct.
meanings of that dream.
Very good. Do you remember we got to watch, I think, two theories? Do you remember something about the theories that we got to watch?
I think it was only one. The first,
Okay,
the only I remember is the psychoanalysis,
okay,
something with psycho.
okay. What do you remember about that first theory?
um, well, what I can remember, it's about some uh, uh, about the unconscious, about the how the unconscious becomes to conscious, something like that.
All right, good. I think that's enough. Yes, there was like a theory, right? Yes, psychoanalysis, something related to representations that we have right in our minds when we are like dreaming, and the dreams may have some meaning, but the meaning is not only one, right? It depends on many things, yes. And it's like analyzing those dreams and so on. Yeah. So we got to watch only one theory. I think it's enough then. We're going to work with a different topic. I wanted to see other theories, but it's better if we get to see also other kind of topics to learn more about other kinds of vocabulary. All right. So this was the first one. Now I have a different one that is related to lying. Do you remember the meaning of lying? Or do you know the meaning of lying, Sharai?
Lying, I don't remember to share about that.
Yes, it's new, right? We're just going to watch this one. It's a new topic, but do you know that word to lie or lying?
It's no, I don't remember.
All right. So I'm going to explain you, all right? When you lie, simply, all right, we can define lying as not telling the truth, right? That's lying. That's what we're going to be, well, watching today. That's the topic related to lying, telling lies, and it says the language of lying. Now, I have some questions before starting this, watching this video and starting this conversation. What do you think about lying, Sharai, and how often do you think that people lie? What do you say, Sharai? Are you there? I cannot hear you, Sharai. I think your microphone is off, or perhaps you're having some problems.
Sorry, teacher, I have some problems. What was
Okay.
you saying? Can you repeat, please? Sorry.
Yes. Yes, of course. Yes, I was asking you, what do you think about lying, and how often do you think that people lie, Sharai?
Well, people lie. I think every day. The um, the most simple lie could say it's it's been uh, every minute, every hour. I don't know,
Okay. All right.
and I
Yes.
think that it's bad.
Yes. Correct. Yes. People lie all the time. It can be really negative, right? Sometimes it's something that people cannot avoid because, as you mentioned, sometimes these are like very small lies or white lies, but people are lying all the time. Now, what we're going to do here, the beginning, we're not going to watch the introduction because they are only showing some facts. For example, they say that at least, all right, one person can hear from 10 to 200 lies a day. All right, that's a lot. From 10 to 200 lies a day. And they were showing some devices that we use and we used before to try to detect when someone is lying. But they say that those devices sometimes they work, sometimes they do not. That's why it's better to use this that you have here on my screen, Sharai. It's linguistic text analysis. It means we can analyze, right, how people speak in general, right, the words they use and so on, to see if they are lying or not. So here you're going to learn about four patterns, all right, four patterns, four elements to make you realize and make you know when someone is possibly lying. Let's get to the first part. I don't know if you can hear me well, Sharai, to start this video.
Yes, teacher. Now it's very clear.
Okay, good. Now let's play it, please. I'm only going to play the first part. Pay attention to this first pattern. Again, the pattern is going to tell you how you can recognize or identify when someone is lying. All right, so let's do it.
Has helped to identify four such common patterns in the subconscious language of deception. First, liars reference themselves less when making deceptive statements. They write or talk more about others, often using the third person to distance and disassociate themselves from their lie. Which sounds more false? Absolutely no party took place at this house, or I didn't host a party here.
All right, that was the first one. I'm going to play it one more time. Try to get all the information that you can, please, Sharai. You're going to try to explain, right, to me, what is this first pattern about?
Conscious language of deception. First, liars reference themselves less when making deceptive statements. They write or talk more about others, often using the third person to distance and disassociate themselves from their lie. Which sounds more false? Absolutely no party took place at this house, or I didn't host a party here.
Okay, so with that information, try to tell me, please, Sharai, what is everything that you will able to understand, and what can you tell me about this first pattern or way to identify liars?
Where I really don't understand a lot, but I could caption that phrase that is deceptive. I don't know statements. And where a person start talking in a third person. So the last one it's indicator about a lying, and that's
Okay,
all I could understand.
okay, but actually that's great because you got, I think, the most important part of the first idea. Yes, third person. And what do they mean by third person? So, yes, deceptive, all right? What is something deceptive? It's something related to something that is not good, all right? Something related to lying, all right? To not being honest. So, I'm going to play it one more time and I'm going to be repeating some of the words that they are mentioning. So, let's begin.
First, liars reference themselves less when making deceptive statements.
Right? So this is important, and this is related to what you said, Sharai, right? Liars reference themselves less, all right, for making the deceptive statements. All right, so reference themselves less. It means that they don't talk about themselves,
They write or talk more about others, often
right? And that's related. They write or talk more about others. All right, they don't talk about themselves. Liars don't talk about themselves. Liars talk about others.
using the third person to
And that's what you say, right? Often using the third person. That's why a liar is not going to say I didn't do it, right? A liar is going to say, people don't do that,
distance and disassociate themselves from their lie.
right? And what is the intention or the idea behind the third person, right? To distance and to disassociate themselves from the lie, right? That's why they are like kicking away the lie. These are the liars, and the lie has to be like distant from them.
Which sounds more false?
right? And here they are asking you, according to this theory, Sharai, you're going to tell me. Remember, liars use third person. So which one sounds more false, Sharai? You're going to tell me. This is the first one.
Absolutely no party took place at this house.
That one, all right? Absolutely no party took place at this house, or this one.
Or I didn't host a party here.
All right, so first let's answer this question, please, Sharai. Which one sounds more false according to this first pattern?
I think it's the first statement, which
Yes.
says absolutely no host or something like that. No
Yes.
party.
No party, right? Exactly, because nobody's going to say something like this. Nobody's going to say absolutely no party took place at this house. Why? Because you don't need to speak like that, right? Unless you want to avoid something, unless you want to be away from the lie, and you don't want to say I and you don't want to say party in the same sentence, right? Because you know that you did it. So, with all that extra explanation, again, if you realize the third person was very important, try to explain this first pattern one more time in your own words, please, Sharai.
Okay, so the first part of this video talk about how to talk about one pattern to identify a liar, and it's talk about the person who's lying, who's saying a lie, start saying deceptive statements. The liar will reference themselves less. The liars will never talk about themselves. It always refers other persons. And so so the liars will talk about in third person. And that's all.
Good. That's great. Yes, that's a great summary. You are mentioning everything. So this was the first pattern, all right? Liars don't talk about themselves. They talk more about others. Why? Because they want to distance and disassociate themselves from the lie. Now let's go to the second one. We have 2 minutes or 3 minutes, but it doesn't matter because this is very short. And I think this is going to be very simple to understand. Let's watch it, please. The second pattern.
Place at this house. Or I didn't host a party here.
Okay, here.
Second, liars tend to be more negative because on a subconscious level, they feel guilty about lying. For example, a liar might say something like, sorry, my stupid phone battery died. I hate that thing. Third,
okay, that was the second. I'm going to play it one more time. Let's pay attention.
Second, liars tend to be more negative because on a subconscious level, they feel guilty about lying. For example, a liar might say something like, sorry, my stupid phone battery died. I hate that thing. Third,
okay, that's it. That's the second one. It's very short, but I think this is one of the most important patterns to recognize when someone is lying. It's very interesting. So, what can you tell me about this second one, Sharai?
Okay, the second part, talk about that the liar could be negative, and that's why that's because they feel guilty about I don't know, it's about the lying or about uh, I don't understand that last part, but they feel guilty.
Yes, yes, and that's the reason behind being negative or being aggressive, right? That's why a liar, of course, this is not like every time. Even you can get mad. I can say, right, my stupid phone battery died. You can say that, but you can recognize that this is a liar when this happens out of nowhere, okay, without any reason. You see that you are like good, everything is great, but suddenly the person, right, becomes very aggressive, very negative, right? Sorry, my stupid phone battery died. I hate that thing. And yes, feeling guilty is very important, but let's understand, yes, it's feeling guilty about lying, but were you able to hear, Sharai? This is one question. Is this feeling guilty something conscious or unconscious?
I think it's unconscious.
Yeah. Let's listen to it one more time. I'm going to repeat that part.
Second, liars tend to be more negative because
Right? Yes, they tend to be more negative. Not all the time, but they tend to do it.
on a subconscious level,
Yes, and they are talking about, you can say unconscious, subconscious level, and here they mention, right? On a subconscious level,
they feel guilty about lying.
right? They feel guilty about lying,
For example, a liar might say something like, "Sorry, my stupid phone battery died. I hate that thing."
right? And that's the example, right? We have that. Now, to finish today's conversation, please, Sharai, I want you to tell me if you agree with these ideas, all right? If you agree that these are like real patterns that you can use to identify liars, and if you see that this is very common in liars, what do you say?
Well, I didn't know about those. Yes, I heard about the liar tend to be more negative, but in the first part about the liar talks, third talk and third person, I've never heard, and I think it's correct. Because well, I didn't notice that on my friends or I don't know, but I think that could be real.
All right, good. Yes, right. These are things that we can get into account to use them, perhaps to recognize when someone is doing that. But of course, it's not always that it's very negative, right? It's not always very pathological, but sometimes it's good to have these tools, right, to identify when that's happening. So that's going to be everything for today, Sharai. I don't know if you have any extra questions or comments before finishing.
No, teacher, everything is clear.
Good, perfect. Thank you very much for being in this conversation. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next class, Sharai.
Okay, thank you, teacher. See you
Bye
tomorrow.
bye. You're welcome. Bye bye. Hello, good evening, Lourdes. How are you?
Hi, teacher. I'm fine, thank you. And you?
That's great. Everything is fine for me, Lourdes. Thanks for asking. So, look, I was watching this video with your partners. You already watched it with me once, but with you, we're going to continue talking about this, right? Presentation, this talking, this speech that is related to marketing and influencers. So, first, I would like you to tell me what you remember about this first part of the video that we were watching. And then after you give me that summary, try to tell me if you agree with what this person is saying or not.
Okay, I remember that she said that we are in a digital transformation, and I agree with that. I think that all all the we all are trying to get inside in this world, in this digital world, especially the adults. Um, and yes, I agree with that. Then she said that that advertising is changing too. That before the companies used to pay to newspaper or these massive methods about advertisement, but now there is the social media like Instagram, like Facebook, YouTube, and others that are a useful um, and useful tool with about advertisement. And then she talked about influencers that are people common like so many people, but they have a community that take their advice in count when they took a, a decision about buy something.
All right, good. That was a great summary. Yes, it's a transformation that she's talking about. And at the end, she's mentioning, right, the new trend, we can call it like that, or the new way, right, of advertising or working with marketing, which is working with influencers. I think this is interesting, right? Being here at Executive English, you may know that that's some kind of marketing that they've been doing in the company. So that's interesting, right? That's a new way. And even it's not that new, at least in the United States and places like that, right? They've been doing this for some time already, but in countries like here in Latin America or the countries like Bolivia and around, they have not been using these strategies as much as other countries. So let's continue watching because I'm going to play again one more time the last part in which she mentions, right, more or less, what's the amount of money that this kind of like trend is generating and what's the amount of money that it's going to generate in the future. But I think this is like 2019, so perhaps we're already in that year. Let's pay attention to the amount of money that she's going to mention.
YouTube, this is why. And this is the world that I work in. So currently, influencer marketing is a $4.5 billion industry, and it's projected to be a $10 billion industry by 2020.
Okay, so those are the numbers that this like lady is giving to people. Were you able to listen to those amounts?
I think that she said it was 4 point something. I don't remember the other name, the other number, but it was 4 point something billions of dollars, and it was projecting almost 10 millions of dollars for 2020.
Yes, that's correct, right? And we're in 2020. Perhaps, well, some things have changed because of the pandemic, but of course, everything had to continue, right? The show must go on. So everything looked for a way of doing things, and we're still working with influencers 2020, 2021. So what do you think about those numbers, Lourdes? This is my question for you. Do you think that the pandemic, right, affected those numbers and we didn't get to have those $10 billion, right, that were projected? Or do you think that it's still happening and this is like the approximate amount that this kind of work with influencers is generating?
Um, I don't really know, but for one side, I think that maybe this number could be higher because I think that companies are knows that in this time people are using more this social media. For example, in this pandemic, uh, so many people started to use and watch TikTok videos that at the first it was not as such popular uh, network, social network, and now it's so popular because people are at home and they didn't have so many things to do. So in this free time, they started to use more social media, and influencers have influence in especially in this kind of platforms. So I think that in that part, uh, business had to search and started um, spend more money in this kind of advertising. But I think too that it was difficult times for any kind of business, and maybe they had to spend money in some other areas of the company, and even fire people from their company. So I don't know, maybe 50-50.
Okay, good. I think that's a great analysis. Yes, this pandemic, of course, right, have or has brought like some changes, some positive ones, negative ones. Yes, and of course, people have started like using more social networks, platforms, and they have started like living this online world, right? And of course, that has some benefits for some companies, but some others may have perhaps, right, lost something. So with that idea, with those numbers, let's continue watching. I'm going to try to play this 1 minute, and we're going to try to summarize the idea, all right, by the end of that part. So let's listen to it.
So what is happening is these brands, they're realizing, wow, this is a highly effective way to market to millennials. The problem is it's virtually the Wild West. When it comes to regulations, procedures, rates, measuring ROI, all these things, we're figuring it out as I speak on this stage. So a little bit of background on myself. My name is Rachel David. I run a company called Hashtag Communications. It's an influencer marketing company, and it's been around for about 2 years. In the past 2 years, we've done over $1 million worth of brand deals with top creators in the world and top brands. Now, not only is that in one place, no, we work with companies in Asia, in Europe, in America, and each place deals with influencers a little bit differently. So during this talk, I hope that I can share with you some of the craziness I've seen, this unique perspective I've had, and equip you with ways that you can utilize influencers to your advantage, or at the very least, just make you look a little bit cooler amongst the millennials in your life.
All right. So until that part, we still have time. All right, about 3 minutes, I think. So Lourdes, I think she's mentioning some things that are really, really interesting related to, that this is something very, very new and we don't know how to deal with it. But I want you to give me the details, please. Can you give me a summary of everything that she mentioned and what are the things that caught your attention the most, please?
Okay, I don't really understand very well the first part. I think that she was for the way that she was talking, that she was mentioned that it's not a, a easy work or a easy world about these influencers, because there is so many measures that we have to to take in count, like average, like well, she didn't mention it, but engagement and other things that a company has to analyze in the moment that want to started with this kind of campaigns about influencers. And at the final, she said that she worked with a company, a marketing company, and she was in marketing to about 2 years and worked with many different business around the world, and they had to analyze the influencers in each country, because influencers are very different in each country, and specifically I think that it's very different in each continent, because in some way there some continent in one continent it's more there are some similarities about these influencers, but I think that in the Asia continent it's so different about our influencers. And yes, they maybe started to come here to Bolivia, because I know that there are so many people that loves K-pop and other this kind of culture, but it's not so common. So I think that it's very important to analyze these statistics and take in count which kind of influencer um, you are um, hired for your company, for your business.
Okay, great. So let me make like a final comment, right, to finish the conversation. On the first part, actually, it's talking about, right, the things that you mentioned in the last part. I think that you talked about very, very well, Lourdes, the differences, right, between influencers. So she says that working with influencers right now, it's like the Wild West, right? You know what's the Wild West, right, Lourdes?
No.
Okay, the Wild West. Have you ever seen the movies? I don't know, the U.S. movies in which you have some cowboys, right? And they have the pistols, right? And they are like in the 100 or 150 years ago, or even more, right? And they are like pointing at each other, and they are in bars fighting. This is
Yes,
wild,
yes.
right? That's the Wild West. So why is she comparing working with influencers as being like the Wild West? Because it's new. She's talking about rates. How much do you pay an influencer? Why and in which measure do you pay, right, that influencer? Views, how many views, and how much for those views? Is that a work, right, or a kind of job? So she's trying to say that this is new, that companies are trying to figure out how to work with influencers, because that's not like a common job, right? That's something very new. Companies make offers to influencers, like giving products sometimes or giving some money, but how much money, right? And under what conditions? That's something that companies, right, are doing now, but every company is doing that their own way. That's why this girl, right, has this company, right, and they are trying to establish some parameters to see how to work with influencers, and of course, even, right, they say, or she says, right, try to look cooler, right, with the influencers, because influencers are young, and so many people that are running companies, they are not specifically young, right, but they are trying to establish those parameters. All right. And I think that's interesting. So what I'm asking you to do, please, now, Lourdes, to finish this, I'm sending the link of this video. The next one, we're going to continue with a different video, also perhaps related to marketing, but watch it. Try to watch it entirely. And then in the next conversation, before going to the next video, I'm going to ask you about this video, and we're going to try to have a short conversation before going to the next one. Okay?
Okay, teacher.
Great. That's it then, Lourdes. Thank you for being in this conversation, and see you tomorrow in class.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye. Good night. Hello, good evening, Mariana. Are you there?
Hi, teacher. Yes,
Hello, how are you? Is everything okay?
fine. And you?
That's great. Everything is fine, Mariana. Thanks for asking. So look, today we're going to continue working. This time we have like a different topic. Remember that the last topic was related to dreams, right? Dreams are the meanings and so on. Before going to this new topic, this is going to be different, all right? I try to do different with you and your partners. With you, we're going to talk about lying now. But before going to this specific topic, Mariana, please tell me what you remember about dreams and the theories that we learned or we were watching about dreams.
Okay. I remember the first part we watched about dreams was about about our desires and how we can see that in the dreams things that we don't think about it, but in the I don't know it's right say to in a subliminal way we see dreams and how we can I don't know how to say it, resolver.
There are many
Like,
ways. You can say solve or resolve. Even resolve is valid. All right, resolve.
okay, how we can resolve many problems about different of many kind of problems like the test or problems that we have in the life in dreams too.
Okay, good, good. That's right. Dreams are complex, right? And we got to watch, I think, two theories about dreaming, right? One related to psychoanalysis. It's like saying we dream to fulfill our wishes. And the second one is what it was more related to how your memory works, right? Because it said we
Yeah.
dream to remember, right? So we have many theories. Even after those theories, we have many more, Mariana. You can take a look, all right, at those other theories. But now we're going to go to a different topic to learn some new vocabulary as well. And this is interesting because this is about lying. Do you know what's the meaning of lying, Mariana?
Yes, I know.
All right. How can you explain that word in your own words? What is lying
It's
or what is to lie?
don't say the truth.
Okay. Okay, yes, exactly right. It's like not telling the truth, right? It's better if you say the verb tell when with the word truth. All right, tell the
Okay,
truth. Good, that's
okay, okay.
great. Lying is not telling the truth, right? That's great. Here, I'm going to explain, all right, the introduction to you because it's better if we watch this part. In the introduction, they just say that we hear from 10 to 200 lies a day. That's a lot, all right? So people lie a lot. And it's not always negative, right? Sometimes these are like very simple and small lies, but we lie a lot. And they say that we have devices to detect when someone is lying, but these devices mm, don't always work. Now they are saying that sometimes then we cannot rely on those devices. Then what can we do to identify a liar or when someone is lying? That's why here we're in this video, the language of lying. We are talking about the linguistics behind lying, all right? How we can understand the way liars speak and how we can identify when someone is lying by listening to what they are saying, all right? That's the idea of this video. We're going to watch four patterns, all right, four elements that are going to help us identify when someone is lying. Do you have any questions in this introduction? Do you understand what we're going to be watching, Mariana?
Yes, I understand very well.
Good. So I'm going to play the first pattern. Pay attention, please, because you're going to explain to me how we can identify a liar using the first pattern. All right? So let's
Okay.
go.
Conscious language of deception. First, liars reference themselves less when making deceptive statements. They write or talk more about others, often using the third person to distance and disassociate themselves from their lie. Which sounds more false? Absolutely no party took place at this house, or I didn't host a party
All right,
here.
that's the first one. It's not very long. I'm going to play it one more time. Try to get the most
Okay.
ideas that you can.
All right.
But you can hear the video well, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Patterns in the subconscious language of deception. First, liars reference themselves less when making deceptive statements. They write or talk more about others, often using the third person to distance and disassociate themselves from their lie. Which sounds more false? Absolutely no party took place at this house, or I didn't host a party here.
All right. So with that, sorry. Okay. So with this information, please, Mariana, try to explain to me, all right, this first pattern, this first idea, and tell me what liars do.
Okay, it was very fast, and I think that they talk in third person, and they talk about they talk more about other people. I think that I hear that.
Sorry, my microphone was not working. So yes, I agree with you, Mariana, and that's very accurate. Actually, that's the main idea of this first point. I'm going to share it again. Liars, right, don't talk about themselves. A liar is not going to talk about himself or herself, right? They are going to talking, right? They are going to be talking more about others. They are going to reference more to others. Why? Because of course they want to be away from the lie. I don't remember if you mentioned this, but what is in grammar, all right? What is the person that they use when they speak, Mariana? Liars. Do they speak in what person? First person, second, third
Third
person?
person.
Third, right? And why? What's the reason behind speaking in third person?
um I really don't know.
Okay, how can you relate that idea? You can use your own ideas here. How can you relate third person with the idea that they talk more about others and they don't like to talk about themselves? How can you relate those two ideas?
Mm, uh, I think that it's because you don't talk about um they don't, I don't know, they don't want to talk about they, I don't know how to explain it,
It's
but
good. Just one little correction there before going for it. Don't use they as an object. It's better if you say they don't like to talk about them or themselves. All right?
okay.
Them or themselves. Okay, good. But yes, actually, Mariana, yes, it's related to that. If they don't use third person, it's because they don't want to say I. Why? If you say I, you are in the same sentence as your lie. For example, here, look, this is something that a liar is not going to say, at least not most of the times. I didn't host a party here. Why? Because you have in the same sentence I and you have in the same sentence a party. But this is a lie and this is I. So liars are not going to say something like this. What are they going to say? Something like this. Absolutely no party took place at this house. So liars don't like to be in the same sentence, all right, in which they are mentioning the lie. That's why they don't say, I didn't do it. They are going to say, people don't do that. A man would never do that. But they are not going to say, I didn't do it
Okay.
because of being away from the lie, right? And they have a very interesting explanation. Try to get the two words, please. They are using two words. I'm going to play it one more time, just a part of this first pattern. They are using two words to explain why they use third person and why they don't talk about themselves. Let's listen.
They write or talk more about others, often using the third person to distance and disassociate themselves from their lie.
Okay, there. What words can you get there? There are two words that are very important to understand why they use third person.
um I I don't hear it so well.
One more time. It's
um
the last part. It's going to be in the
okay.
last part. All right.
Liars reference themselves less when making deceptive statements. They write or talk more about others, often using the third person to distance and disassociate themselves from their lie.
There. Do you get something there?
I hear distance.
Very good. Distance. And what is the word next to distance? I'm going to try to play it one more time.
Okay.
Often using the third person to distance and disassociate themselves from their lie.
What do you say? Do you have the other word?
No, I don't recognize, but I think to distance and uh, um I think that it was a word like aislar. I don't know it's
Like
correct.
It's going to be different in this case, all right? I'm going to show you. It's going to be this word, all right? Disassociate, all right?
Okay.
Disassociate, all right? So they use third person to distance and to disassociate themselves from their life.
Oh, yeah, I understand. I really
All
understand.
right, so that's the idea behind using the third person. What do you think about this first pattern then, Mariana? I'm going to play it one more time with captions, but what do you think? Do you think that this is accurate? Do you think that this is precise? Or do you think that this is not true? What do you think?
I think that it's true because they don't want to I don't know, um eh, ¿cómo se dice? Like tener algo que ver with the lie. I don't know how to say it.
Okay,
I
good.
never
You
hear.
can good. You can use different expressions, right? They don't want to be related to the lie, right? They don't want to be related
Yes.
to it. You can say that. Okay, good. Yeah, exactly. This is true because you're going to hear many times that sometimes they use like weird expressions using third person when it's not necessary. And sometimes when someone is lying, right, they don't speak like I. They say like people don't do that, a man do that, don't do that, it's said that or according to these studies. Sometimes liars use a lot of facts, right? They talk about statistics, they talk about many, many things, but they don't say I, because that's like being too close to the lie, right? Being too,
Yes.
and if you realize
Like be
sometimes,
related with that, I think.
yes, exactly. They want to get away from the lie, and though that they don't really want to be related to the words that are related to the lie itself, right? For example, if you organized a party and you don't want to say that, you're going to say something like in the example, right? You're not going to say, I didn't host a party here. You're most likely going to say, absolutely no party took place at this house because it's not mentioning you, right? And it seems like far from you. But again, that's interesting. And my last question here, Mariana, have you ever heard perhaps someone using this kind of vocabulary and you were kind of sure that they were lying, or it's not something that you analyzed before?
I think that yes, many times I recognize lies, but this way to recognize I never heard before. But I think that yes, many times I relate this with the lies.
Okay. Okay, good. Now look, I want you to do something else. The other student is not here anymore. The second part is very, very short. Let me play it for you. I think it's very interesting. We have four, okay? We're only going to watch this and the second one until the time we can. Let's listen to it and try to tell me what you understand. It's very short.
Okay.
Party took place at this house, or I didn't host a party here. Second, liars tend to be more negative because on a subconscious level, they feel guilty about lying. For example, a liar might say something like, sorry, my stupid phone battery died. I hate that thing.
Okay, that's it. I'm going to play it one more time. That was the second one. And there you go. One more time. Sorry, it's even after this. There you go.
Second, liars tend to be more negative because on a subconscious level, they feel guilty about lying. For example, a liar might say something like, sorry, my stupid phone battery died. I hate that thing.
All right. So I'm going to stop sharing. This is my last question to finish this very briefly, Mariana. What do you get from this last pattern? What is the main idea for you? And we're going to continue the conversation in the next class. What is the main
Okay.
idea?
I think that the liars are very negative when they are lying because they feel very guilty.
All right. Yes, you're right. That feeling guilty is turning them right aggressive, negative. That's why out of the nowhere, right, they start behaving like that, and that's of course something that we can recognize. So we're going to continue talking about this in the next conversation, Mariana. Thanks for being in this one. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right?
Okay, thank you, teacher.
You're welcome. Bye. Hello, Luciana. Are you there?
Hi,
Can you
teacher.
hear?
Sorry.
All right. Don't worry. How are you? Is everything okay?
Yes, everything's fine. And how are you?
That's great. Everything is going well, Luciana. Thanks for asking. So today we're going to be working on a different topic, right? I know that talking about music can be very complex. There are many ways, or right, or many kinds of topics related to music, but we're going to try to watch or write some mm, uh, video related topics, all right, that are related to music. And perhaps little by little, we're going to get to some of the real ideas that you wanted to talk about. So the first one is going to be related to playing instruments, all right, playing instruments, and see some of the benefits that you may have by doing it. By any chance, do you play any instrument, musical instrument, or do you like to sing, or do you sing, Luciana?
My last birthday, last year, my dad bought me a guitar, but I'm still learning because I'm not really good at it. I want to learn well, but the problem is that all the classes have to be online and in Zoom, and I think it's more complex for an for learning to play an instrument.
Okay, that's interesting. Remember, I think you used the verb buy in past, but I think it was different. Right? Remember, what is the past of buy? Bought,
But
right?
see,
Bought.
yes, I say but,
Okay,
but
that's
I don't
good.
know how to pronounce it.
Okay, yes, how to pronounce it? Good. Yes, then it's going to be bought. Good. Okay, yes, you're right. Because of the pandemic, nowadays it's hard to find, right, some classes that are face to face, and it's really hard to learn something like an instrument, right, via online classes. I totally agree with you, but perhaps you can start learning by yourself. Sometimes you have many videos online. It's hard to do it. Of course, there are not a lot of good videos, but if you look for them very well, you can find very interesting videos. What is the instrument that you have or that they bought you?
What?
What is the instrument that you have, Luciana?
I have a guitar.
Okay, good. So this video, all right, it's going to be related to instruments. How playing an instrument benefits your brain. Perhaps this is also going to be like something that is going to motivate, right? You looking for something that make you start learning by yourself, and then afterwards you may be able to find other kind of classes, right? Perhaps after the pandemic is kind of under control, or at least everything is better. So let's watch it. Again, I'm going to
Okay.
play some parts and you're going to tell me the things you understand in that part.
Did you know that every time musicians pick up their instruments, there are fireworks going off all over their brain? On the outside, they may look calm and focused, reading the music and making the precise and practiced movements required. But inside their brains, there's a party going on. How do we know this? Well, in the last few decades, neuroscientists have made enormous breakthroughs in understanding how our brains work by monitoring them in real time with instruments like fMRI and PET scanners. When people are hooked up to these machines, tasks such as reading or doing math problems each have corresponding areas of the brain where activity can be observed. But when researchers got the participants to listen to music, they saw fireworks. Multiple areas of their brains were lighting up at once as they processed the sound, took it apart to understand elements like melody and rhythm, and then put it all back together into unified musical experience.
Okay, That's it. We can keep going, but it's going to get more complex. I think that's like an introduction to this idea of benefits, right, to your brain. But they are showing the difference, right, in comparison to how your brain works when you do other kind of activities. But in general, Luciana, what were you able to get in this part of the video, the first minute?
In this first part, I was able to understand that the musicians maybe look focused or maybe serious in the outside, but inside of their brain, they have like fireworks and a lot of feelings because they really like to play music, and this is how can I say compro
You can say this has been proven, all right? This
okay,
has been proven.
this has been proven for many scientifics and a lot of studios uh, a lot
Studies,
of
studies.
studies about this topic in specific.
Good, great. I agree with you. This idea of having fireworks, right, in your brain is referred to the complexity of the activity that they are doing. When you are working with mathematics, a part of your brain works, right? When you are working with a different activity, a part of your brain works. But when you are playing an instrument, it's like all your brain is working, more or less, that's what they are saying. And that's interesting. In the last part, they mentioned, I don't know if you were able to understand the last part, they were mentioning why their brains are like fireworks. There's not only because they like it, of course, they enjoy music, and we all enjoy music, right? But what is happening in the brain of a musician when that person listens to music, and why is that complex? Were you able to get that last part, Luciana?
Not that much really.
Okay, don't worry. I'm going to go back a little bit and try to understand. All right, they're going to mention, I don't know if you know something about the concepts of music, but they are going to mention at least the three, all right, main words in music. And that's why it's complex to understand music, because you
uh,
have to
the
like
three
develop.
words,
Tell me.
the three words of music.
Yes, do you know what are the three like main elements of music?
Yes.
Okay, what do you know about those words? Try to tell me a little bit about them, please.
They are like musical notes,
Okay, what else?
and maybe you can learn to read it. So if you do that if you do if you do that, maybe you can compose something or something like that.
Okay, okay, yes, that's interesting. Learning how to read and write music, right?
How can I
By,
say componer?
yes, you can say compose, to compose or
Compose.
to
Okay.
write something. You sometimes they don't say that, they say write. To write something, you can write music. You can also use only write, all right? To compose or a composition. Now, look, yes, the words you were using, they are right, okay, like musical notes, musical figures, but they are going to mention even like broader and more general elements of music. Let's pay attention to this last part.
Multiple areas of their brains were lighting up at once as they processed the sound, took it apart to understand elements like melody and rhythm, and then put it all back together into unified musical experience.
Okay, in that part, they mentioned two
Okay.
of the three main elements. What were you able to get?
I was able to get melody and instruments.
Okay, good. I'm going to play one more time. You have one melody. There's one more. There are three, but there are two that are very important. It's next to melody. Melody is very, very important.
Processed the sound, took it apart to understand elements like melody and rhythm, and then put it
Okay, one more time.
Okay.
It's just
Melody and rhythm.
rhythm, exactly. All right. So melody and rhythm are two of the three, okay, most important elements that you can, okay, talk about when you're talking about music. So that's why it can be complex because you have the sound, and in the sound you have to understand what's the melody. And it's not only the melody of the voice. You have the melody of the guitar, it could be the bass, the keyboard, and even not only keyboard, you may have piano and you may have other instruments. And if you are here into classical music, you may have like 20 instruments or more, and you are able to understand the melody of each instrument. And not only that, but also the rhythm, right? Perhaps in pop culture, right? Pop music is not that complex, but of course it's also complex. But if you compare that to classical music, in classical music, it's even harder to understand the rhythm, right? How that's working. So melody, rhythm, the sounds, processing all that information can be very complex, right, in your brain. Let's keep going. I'm going to play it at least 20 more seconds, and you're going to try to explain everything up to that point. All right?
Okay.
Took it apart to understand elements like melody and rhythm, and then put it all back together into unified musical experience. And our brains do all this work in the split second between when we first hear the music and when our foot starts to tap along. But when scientists turn from observing the brains of music listeners to those of musicians, the little backyard fireworks became a jubilee. It turns out that while listening to music engages the brain in some pretty interesting activities, playing music is the brain's equivalent of a full-body workout. The neuroscientists saw multiple areas of the brain light up, simultaneously processing different information in intricate, interrelated, and astonishingly fast sequences. But what is it about making music that sets the brain alight? The research is still fairly new, but neuroscientists have a pretty good idea. Playing a musical instrument engages practically every area of the brain at once, especially the visual, auditory, and motor cortices. And as with any other workout, disciplined, structured practice in playing music strengthens those brain functions, allowing us to apply that strength to other activities. The most obvious difference between listening to music and playing it is that the latter requires fine motor skills, which are controlled in both hemispheres of the brain.
Okay, I'm going to stop there. I wanted to get to a different point, but they are developing this more and more. It's interesting, but up to that point, what were you able to get? The first like experiment or thing that they showed, it's just for people that were listening to music, right? To identify parts of music and so on. But in this second part, they were talking about musicians themselves, people who play instruments. What are the things that you can recognize in this second part, Luciana?
Okay. This second part talk more about how we can uh, first another thing. Um, Making music is more complex than we think because you have to put it all together. You have to put the rhythm and all of that in just one symphony. But also, this part was talking about how we can compare listen to music or doing music with making a full work body workout because when we listen music we have like in our brains like so many lights up that are thinking in different thoughts.
Okay, yes, that was perfect. That comparison at the beginning was something really interesting, and you talked about very well. Yes, like a full body workout, right? Because everything is working there. It's like your brain is going to the gym, right?
Yes.
Everything is working. There's like a simultaneous, right, working in the visual part, in the auditory part, in the motor part, right? Because everything is working over there. The way you read music, right? The notes that you have to see, you have to pay attention to the notes, how they sound, and even you need to have some coordination, right, with your fingers if you're playing an instrument. So many things going on there, and that's why they consider that this is very, very complex, and they can even those kind of things can have a lot of benefits, even if other kind of activities, right? Can you explain this to finish this, Luciana? They mentioned and they showed this picture and this activity. What do you think they were trying to show and they were trying to tell us by showing this picture?
I'm not sure about this, but I think that in this picture we can watch two doctors. Uh, how can beside them, beside the people that is playing. How can I say ajedrez?
A chess? Huh? And remember, people, it's always plural. Yes, so you can say two doctors or two scientists that
Okay,
are next to, all right, the people who are playing
okay.
chess.
Two doctors are beside two people that are playing chess, and I think
Exactly.
maybe this picture try to um, make us watch from a different point of view, that the doctors can also study the people that makes different activities, so maybe they can study how the brain of these people works when they are doing these particular activities. I'm not sure about.
Okay, I think that was very close, but I'm going to help you with this one. In
Okay.
this case, this is the musician, all right? And they were showing this picture to show that when you play an instrument, you work your brain out. It means that your brain is very strong. You have a lot of connections. Your way of thinking is like faster. And that's why they say that you even have more benefits, not only when playing the instrument, but also when doing other activities. It means that if a musician needs to work with something different, like playing chess or working with mathematic exercises, all right, they are going to have like not an advantage, but they are going to have something extra there that is going to help them. Let me play that part, just that part, to understand that.
Strengthens those brain functions, allowing us to apply that strength to other activities.
All right, allowing us
Okay.
to apply that
Um.
strength to other
Yes,
activities.
that part of the video, I think that tries to say us that the musicians that maybe write songs or something like that um, have the chance to use like that strength that they have to put in all that strength in other activities
Good,
and different
very
activities.
perfect. Yes, exactly. That's the main point over here. Great. Again, this is related to playing instruments, to music. I'm going to try to look for videos like this, even trying to analyze only some artists, something like that. But that was today's topic. We're going to continue talking about music and other topics. I don't know if you have any questions or comments before finishing, Luciana.
I think that now teacher it's a topic interest is an interesting topic,
Mhm.
but it's okay. I could understand all the video till now. And yes, that.
Perfect, perfect, Luciana. Anyway, again, if you have more recommendations, you can let me know. But again, as I told you, I'm going to try to look for different kind of videos, different kind of topics. And I know that you want something related to music, so it's not only going to be about this. I'm going to also look for other kinds of content. So that's it. Thank you for being here today, and I'll see you tomorrow in class, Luciana.
Okay, thank you, teacher. Bye.
Bye bye. Hello, good evening, Melissa.
Hello, Jose Luis. Sorry, I think my internet is not very fast tonight.
Yeah, it took some time to all right connect the audio, but that's good. Let's take advantage. Let's try to work on this new conversation. Melissa, you're going to tell me if it's going to work because I want to show you again parts of the video. But if your connection is going to be not working very well, we may do something else. So let me know. I'm going to play just part of the video and let me know if you can hear it well. All right?
Okay.
Good. So let's see.
Did you know that every time musicians pick up their instruments, there are fireworks going off all over their brain?
Okay, how's that working for you? Can you hear what the narrator is saying?
Yes, I can hear it. At the beginning, your connection is unstable message popped up, but it's okay. I can hear it well.
Okay, good. I'm also going to try to do something. I hope it works. But all right. So I know there are many topics. These are not the exact topics, all right, that you were talking about. But little by little, we're going to go into these music topics, all right, to get to that like field. This is the first video related to that, and it's talking about instruments, okay, musical instruments, and how, all right, beneficial they are when you are one person who plays them. Now, this is my first question. How much are you into music, Melissa? Why do you like it? Do you perhaps play an instrument, or do you sing, or do you just like to listen to music?
I unfortunately I don't play an instrument, at least not well. I took piano lessons when I was younger, and I tried to learn how to play the ukulele some years ago, but I just listen to music a lot. I think it's the biggest hobby that I have because during work, every night, the only thing that I do
Okay.
basically is listen to music. So I'm just a really big fan of that.
Okay. I think that's great. I think music is like a very big part on all of us. I think it's very, very hard to find someone that really like doesn't like music or hates it, right? It's really hard, but I imagine that there are people, it's not like because of some pathology, right? It's because of something else, but it's very, very weird. So here instruments. All right, the idea of playing instruments is something that many scientists have been like doing some research about. But this is my second question. What do you think are some benefits of playing an instrument, Melissa?
I don't know. I think it helps obviously to your creative side because the way that you learn, for example, to read, I don't know how to say that in English, but the notes
Mhm.
to play a song, it's like another language. And I think it also helps with your, even when with your skills in the part where you have to be able to do certain movements to play, for example, guitar, or when I took piano lessons, you had to be able to read the notes at the same time that your right hand was playing something and your left hand play stuff. And I think it helps to be, I think it helps to be smart, but not in the normal way. And that's it, for example, with numbers or the mathematical part that sometimes we use to associate with intelligence. I think that an instrument can help you a lot to improve some things like that.
Okay, great. I think that's a great approach. All right. I agree with you. I mean, with many things. Now, I'm going to mention some words that you were wanting the specific word. For example, this, all right, can be called like sheet music, all right, sheet music or score, okay, sheet music or score. Now, and sheet music, the thing with 5 lines and 4 spaces is called like staff, all right, staff. So yes, and you can also say like side reading, right? When you play piano, you side read the notes, all right, in the sheet music. Good. So yes, there are many processes involved, right, in playing an instrument. Of course, there are many kinds of instruments. You have like classical ones, you have electronic ones, and in the classical ones, you may have other families, right, in between those like big families. But here we're going to talk about like general ideas of playing any instrument. And here, again, mostly it's going to be related to the benefits in your brain. So let's take a look at the first part of the video, and you're going to let me know everything that you were able to understand, please. Let's begin.
Did you know that every time musicians pick up their instruments, there are fireworks going off all over their brain? On the outside, they may look calm and focused, reading the music and making the precise and practiced movements required. But inside their brains, there's a party going on. How do we know this? Well, in the last few decades, neuroscientists have made enormous breakthroughs in understanding how our brains work by monitoring them in real time with instruments like fMRI and PET scanners. When people are hooked up to these machines, tasks such as reading or doing math problems each have corresponding areas of the brain where activity can be observed. But when researchers got the participants to listen to music, they saw fireworks. Multiple areas of their brains were lighting up at once as they processed the sound, took it apart to understand elements like melody and rhythm, and then put it all back together into unified musical experience.
All right, until that part. What do you get in that first part? And what can you tell me about the complexity of listening to music?
Well, I think that at the beginning, the video talked about something related, I was saying earlier, that you have to read at the same time that you do the practiced moves that are required to play the instrument. But a study showed that, for example, when they see through an fMRI, I don't know if it was that, and another thing that I couldn't get very well, but they saw that when someone listened to music, a lot of many parts of their brains were lighting up, showing that the people were trying to process a melody, rhythm, that a lot of areas of their brains were stimulated. And that wasn't the case with other activities or with other emotions or the other parts of the study. But with music, a lot of areas were like fireworks and were lighting up.
Okay, very good. I'm going to go one last time to the last part. I agree with you in everything. That was the purpose of this introduction. There's one missing part. In the last like 20 seconds, this narrator mentioned like 3 important parts of music, and that is one thing that helps understand why listening to music can be so complex. When he was showing these 3 bars like moving out because of the playing of music, do you remember what are the elements that he mentioned when he showed us this?
I think one was rhythm, the other
Mhm.
one was melody,
Very
and
good.
I couldn't get to listen the third one.
All right, don't worry. You have the 2 most important ones there, Melissa. First, I want to know if you can hear me well because in the last part I heard what you said, but you were kind of laggy. Can you hear me?
It was kind of laggy too, but now I can hear you. I
All
don't
right.
know why my
Okay, I think it's working. I hope it can be able.
internet is so low today. Sorry.
Don't worry. I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment and let me know. I think it's going to be better. All right. So, yes, the two elements that you mentioned, all right, they were very accurate. So, you have rhythm and you have melody. And the other one, actually, I don't know why they mentioned this, but they mentioned sound, all right, sound. So, they say sound, melody, and rhythm. Why do you think that listening to these three elements can be complex, Melissa? And they say that our brains, right, are like with fireworks. Why that much complexity when you listen to music, and how can you explain that using these elements that he mentioned?
Very different, even for example, from genre to genre, the rhythm can be different. Even I don't know if it's the same word in English as in Spanish, but the compass, I don't know how to say that, can be different, and the melody can be complex, and they can be a lot of instruments involved. Or for example, the rhythm can be at a certain speed, but the melody can be a different one. So maybe you have to pay a lot of attention to be able to recognize these certain changes in the speed or in the instruments, or in the way that the song is built, and how complex are the different sounds uh, inside of it.
Okay, good. That's really great. I think that was very, very well explained, Melissa. Now, I am going to help you again with some words that you were wanting to mention. If you want to talk about time in music, you can talk about time signature. All right, the time signature is very important in music, and also the beat. All right, the beat and the time signature. So time signature is going to give you like the general idea of what's going to be like the structure of the music, right, or of the specific song. And the beat, right, can vary in many ways. Also, you can talk about sometimes BPM, how fast or how slow, right, the song or that interpretation is going to be. But that's it. So yeah, there are many variations that we need to take into account when we listen to music, and you're right. The idea of listening to those rhythms, to those melodies, and not only the melody of one thing, right? Not only the voice. You have many other instruments. And if you listen to classical music, you have like 20 instruments, like even more instruments, and you have different melodies from those instruments. And you listening to music, you're able to listen to each kind of melody, each kind of rhythm, right? And all those variations. So there's the complexity of listening to music. Now I'm going to share it one more time to play just the comparison, and you're going to tell me then this was an experiment, all right, and they were talking about people who listens, all right, who listen to music. But now we're going to know more information about people who play, all right, who play musical instruments. You're going to tell me what are the difference, all right, what are the differences, or what are like the main elements that you can recognize.
And then put it all back together into unified musical experience. And our brains do all this work in the split second between when we first hear the music and when our foot starts to tap along. But when scientists turn from observing the brains of music listeners to those of musicians, the little backyard fireworks became a jubilee. It turns out that while listening to music engages the brain in some pretty interesting activities, playing music is the brain's equivalent of a full-body workout. The neuroscientists saw multiple areas of the brain light up, simultaneously processing different information in intricate, interrelated, and astonishingly fast sequences. But what is it about making music that sets the brain alight? The research is still fairly new, but neuroscientists have a pretty good idea. Playing a musical instrument engages practically every area of the brain at once, especially the visual, auditory, and motor cortices. And as with any other workout, disciplined, structured practice in playing music strengthens those brain functions, allowing us to apply that strength to other activities. The most obvious difference between listening to music and playing it is that the latter requires fine motor skills, which are controlled in both hemispheres of the brain.
Okay, until that part, and they're going to give us more detail. But up to that part, what extra information can you give me? And what is the difference that you can see? Okay, just a few could be between just listening to music and playing instruments.
Well, they say in the video that playing an instrument is like do a whole body workout, because almost every part of the brain is engaged to that activity, especially the visual, the motor, and the auditor, I think. And the speed of the process and the complexity of the process, the information while someone is playing an instrument is very fast and very high as well, I think. For example, the main difference between just listening to music and being able to play an instrument is the motor skills that are required, and those are in both sides of the brain, the left one and the right one.
Great, very good. Just that last word that was missing, right? It's going to be auditory, right? So you have the visual area, the auditory area, and the motor area. Yes, you're right. And those are, and that's the main difference, right? The motor skills that you need when you play an instrument, and of course, those related to the visual and the auditory area that we already mentioned. Great. And to finish this up, I want you to tell me what you think about this information, all right? And if you think that there's a difference in that information that you just watched in between the instruments. For example, do you think you mentioned the piano, but as well as the piano, you have many other instruments that require that you need to read, right? Sheet music. But perhaps they are not as complex. But this is my question. Do you think that all instruments are complex and all of them develop this kind of benefits? Or do you think that others are not as hard as the piano or the violin, I don't know, and they don't have these benefits? What do you think?
I think that all instruments have these benefits, but maybe some instruments are, I don't know if the word is correct, easier or simple to play. For example, like I don't know, it's not the same to play, like you said, the violin or the piano, to play, I don't know, the flute in the school. I don't know, if I think that's more simple to start to learn, and it can be do in an easier way. But I think that in some kind of I don't know, in some kind of way, every instrument can develop this can develop the process that we saw in the video, but sometimes it can be more difficult to start to learn how to play it.
Okay, good. That's really interesting. Just one thing, I don't know, in many schools, yes, they teach, but let's be careful. There is going to be like a difference between like a flute, which is more professional, even in orchestras, and the instrument that they teach in schools is mainly called a recorder. Okay, a recorder is like a smaller version of a flute, and it's more like simple. All right, so it's like a flute, but more simple. All right, so recorder and flute. Good. Yes, I agree with you. There are going to be some instruments that are going to be like not harder. Let's say they have a lot more complexity, right, in learning all the basics and all the complex aspects of them. But yes, at the end, we can see that these benefits, right, are going to affect in a positive way to all the people that are learning any kind of instrument. I think that's going to be it. I don't know if you have any final questions or comments to finish today, Melissa. Let me know, please.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to let you know that tomorrow I won't be able to go to class because I have a family thing, but I will watch the lesson on the YouTube channel and I will do all the assignments on the weekend, so I won't be, I don't know, not in the same level as my partners.
Okay, yeah, don't worry. Yes, you know that you have everything there. We're finishing. Monday is going to be the last day to finish Unit 2. She just give it a look. Yes, the weekend is going to be great to complete that. If you have any questions, let me know. But I think everything is going to be clear on the video or on the Pearson platform. So great, Melissa. Thank you for letting me know. Have a great night, and I'll see you then on Monday.
Okay, Jose Luis, bye. Have a
Bye
great
bye.
night. Bye.